Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Match Ball podcast. I'm Rohan, and thank you so much for joining this episode. Thank you so much, first of all, for giving the support and the love to my new co-host, Amod. Amod, welcome to this brand new episode.
Thanks, Rohan. Thanks. I'm really looking forward to this episode, man. I've been asking you for a lot. It's a topic that's been on our mind for a for this entire transfer window up to this point, and I really want to know what's going on. And
Absolutely.
who better to talk about this than you? I mean, you are a CA, so
You are too kind. You speak too highly of me, it seems.
I think you are the perfect host, and I'm going to just sit here and absorb all the information from you.
Glad to contribute. And for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, this is a very special episode. Like I've said this all the time, every episode is a very special episode, but this one is very special because it's the one that required an insane amount of research, an insane amount of proof checking, an insane amount of data accumulation, and then interpretation. And it was truly like, I'm a research minded person. I like to analyze, I like to research. If you give me something, I'll drill down and ensure that I get to the bottom of it. So it was a very fun time for me. And like Amod said, the what we're going to talk about today is one of the most prestigious clubs in football history is going through one of the worst financial crises of all time. And you must have guessed which club it is by the title of this video, and it is none other than FC Barcelona. Now, FC Barcelona, historically, so that club from Catalonia and the other Real Madrid from Madrid are the two clubs which dominate Spanish history and European history as well. But it's very important for us to understand basically what is happening with the club. Now, you must have seen lots and lots of reports on Twitter, in the news, on YouTube, on other social media platforms that Barcelona is struggling to register players. Barcelona is struggling to sell players. Has activated quote unquote economic levers, or levers as you like to call it. So for me, or for anyone from the finance background, or anyone who has a more or less understanding of financial terms, these concepts and what events are happening are not too difficult to comprehend. But for the ordinary person who doesn't really indulge much in finance, the same way I don't indulge in what engineers like Amod do, it's very difficult for me for anyone to understand, and it's very difficult for me as a person who understands this to explain it in a short episode or a short context. So it's better to always. So that's why Amod and we came up with this idea that let's dedicate an entire video for explaining what is actually going on with FC Barcelona, and it's honestly something which the more you go deep into it, the more you realize how big of a mess they are actually in. I mean, statistics, numbers, events, headlines, they don't even tell you half the story. There is so much to deep dive into this, and I'm truly very excited.
Another thing is they are troubling both our clubs. So that's another thing to talk about.
I told myself before this recording that I'm going to stay extremely neutral. I'm not going to show any emotions that I've been going through based on the two players who they snatched away. Snatched away is a bit of a harsh term. It's like I thought over this. It's like there is this one organization, like let's take any case scenario that you are a good person in doing what you do now. You're a data scientist. You are a very good data scientist, and you want to get into this organization you love. You don't care about the money. And if another organization comes knocking the door and gives you more money, you would still think twice, thrice, maybe four times before accepting the other offer, and you'd always prefer your preferred organization to come back. So I believe that is what has happened with the two players, Rafinha and Jules Koundé. Yeah. So see, I was very salty about it, and I did go on Twitter and I did rant a little bit about it here and there. But at the end of the day, FC Barcelona convinced a player who was about to sit in a plane to go to Rome to not board the plane and come to Barca. Like, if this doesn't tell the quote unquote pull of Barcelona, I don't know what will. So these things happen in football. Hijacking is normal. So yeah, I can at least for my club, I'm coming to terms with that. for like what your club and the player concerned is, I believe there is a lot more about it, which we will get to when we start
And
going
I
through.
think the way you would explain it, I think it would be more clear why they are not letting the player that United wants.
Actually, I mean, once we go through whatever we have today, it will be more clear why the player doesn't want to leave.
Fair,
Okay,
fair.
rather than why Barca is forcing him to leave or trying to leave or doing something to leave, it's more clear why he doesn't want to leave.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so are you
Perfect.
ready?
Of course, let's dive into it.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Can't wait.
Let's
Can't
dive
wait.
into this. So I have a small visual aid prepared for this, because I
Perfect.
believe that because the sheer amount of volume and the sheer amount of data involved, it's better to preferably have some sort of visual aid which will help us understand this. So rightfully, first of all, the title, as it says, by the biggest footballing crisis in recent history. You won't believe, once we go through the entire presentation, so to speak, what exactly is happening and how bad of a mess they are in, like I said before. So first of all, now when we go through all of these headlines and news articles and all, I'm pretty sure
Right.
you've come across this one term called as salary cap, or La Liga salary budget, or La Liga
Yes.
not allowing Barca for Barca unable to comply with La Liga's financial fair plays, and all of
Yes.
like something basically pointing towards the direction that La Liga has some form of rules which are necessary to understand before we understand the case. So what I'm going to
Right.
do first of all is the crisis. I'll give an overview about what the crisis is. So, I mean, the crisis is so bad that even Busquets doesn't want to look at it. Like
Yeah.
Barcelona have a ton of debt. Debt is basically owings to other parties, which is
Right.
at the moment 1.35 billion euros confirmed by their president. They have a negative salary cap by La Liga, which is something we are going to get into. They have a lot of deadwood and a significant amount of difficulty in getting rid of them. And all of this basically funnels towards an uncertain financial future. Now,
Right.
first of all, like I said, Spanish FFP or La Liga's FFP is something which needs a little bit of understanding. Okay.
Right.
Now, first of all, La Liga FFP, they were introduced with the intention that clubs would be able to spend without racking up unsustainable debt. So much for that. And the biggest point of differentiation between these rules is these rules begin at the start of the season. Whereas,
Correct.
so what it does is it's a check before the start of the season to ensure that you do not overspend or you do not pass that limit.
Right. So when do the players actually register for the?
We'll get to that. No,
Okay.
we'll get to that. I think the simple answer is whenever they are signed,
Right. They can register them for
they
that
can register.
competition.
Yeah. If they
Right.
fit within the budget, as
So they have to match that particular salary limit just so that they can register those players.
They have to.
Yeah.
They have to. And as far as as far as I've studied, at the time of entering European competitions, there is a different budget which Barca has to comply with, which any club has to comply with from Spain, because the UEFA financial fair play norms are different.
Right.
Now, La Liga does have a transfer budget, transfer policy, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm only going to talk about the salary and that budget, that wage cap, which is being talked about.
Sure.
Now, what exactly is included in this salary cap? Okay. Now, first of all, now it's important to understand that salary cap does not mean the total amount of salaries which the players are paid, consolidated, accumulated. That's not how this cap is calculated. The cap is calculated, first of all, it is a derived figure. It's never a concrete figure that comes out of thin air. It's a derived figure based on the club's financial performance. Right. So first of all, the first component is sales. Now, sales is not too difficult to understand for a common person. It's straightforward. You sell players, you earn money. You sell merchandise, you earn money. You sell tickets, you earn money. I'm sorry about that. You sell your match day program. You sell other elements of the club that you can sell.
Yeah, so one of
That-
them weren't they selling weddings or organizing weddings at Camp Nou or
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah,
It's a
they
big
were,
thing apparently.
and as much as I would like to take the mick out of them for this,
Mhm.
this is a very, very common thing that
Yeah.
stadiums do.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know why
very
it was such
common.
a big thing on
Yeah,
Twitter.
I think because it is basically when Barca are already in so much of financial debt, these
Yeah,
kind of
then
the news,
news
they
come
add fuel
out
to the
and
fire and they
yeah,
generate more impressions, more likes, more reach. So I don't
yeah,
blame people for using this as a bit of content to launch themselves and make themselves a bit more famous.
yeah,
But in
yeah,
reality, look at, any person would like if I had some form of great event of mine or any other important event in
yeah.
my life at camp or at Stamford Bridge, I'm not going to
Of course
complain.
you would
I'm
do
going to
it.
make sure
Yeah,
that it happens, whatever the price, whatever the cost, right? So this is, and it's an easy way for the club to generate revenue and to develop a connection with their fans that they are willing to, accommodate them in their special moments as well. It basically it will, in case of Barca, it will make a statement and say that they are actually Mesco club, that is more than a club, and they are not
yeah,
just a
yeah.
footballing entity.
Mm.
So first component is sales. Okay. The second component is operational cost. Okay. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
deep dive into operational cost a bit
This is where
later.
it goes tricky for me.
Yeah, exactly. I can
Yeah.
completely understand why it can get tricky because there is a fair bit of accounting principles involved over here. Okay.
Right.
Now, operational costs. See, you can call them you can bifurcate them into two parts. First is the player related and the non-playing, like playing stuff, non-playing
Gotcha.
stuff.
Yeah.
Playing stuff will have salaries, which is the most
Mhm.
obvious one, and another
Yep.
word which I've mentioned there, which is player amortization. Amortization is something that I will get into in the coming slides. Okay.
Yep.
And then there is the non-playing staff and non-playing expenses like maintenance, the non-playing staff salary, the other minor repairs here and there, then
Yep.
electricity, and all of these things like training facility maintenance, all of these things
Gotcha.
which are relevant for keeping the organization
Club
operating as a whole.
functioning. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So these are your operational costs. And the third one is debt repayments. Now this is also very, very straightforward. You have a loan, okay, you have
Yep.
a borrowing, you are obviously bound to pay interest on that loan. Okay, now people now for those who won't be able to, like, if this is a little bit difficult, exactly it's as same as probably taking an education loan or taking a home loan or taking a car loan basically. So
Yeah.
you take a loan to achieve for your because you require it for as funds for whatever reason, and then you
Yeah.
repay it either one shot after 5 years, 10 years, whatever, or yearly repayments of the principal and interest on the principal. So loan is always divided into two parts: principal and interest. Okay.
Right.
Interest is something which you have to pay based on the amount of principal. And you can decide whether you want to pay principal straight shot or you want to pay it year by year, so that parallelly your interest amount also reduces year by year.
Right. Also, one thing I would like to add is, isn't Barcelona a football club? Like, whereas in the Premier League, you have the model of an owner and a club, but Barcelona, they have like a chairman and then they
I think
elect
so.
their
I think so.
presidents. Yeah. So
And I'm not. I missed out on researching about this during, but I forgot to study Barca's organization like ownership structure. So I believe the fans also have
yeah, I think
ownership.
they're called socios or something. Where
Yeah,
they have
I think so.
Yeah.
So don't quote us on this. We are not too
Yeah.
sure about it. But as far as I know, that members of the company are there is fan involvement in this.
Yeah.
It's not like the Premier League where
League model,
there is a completely different entity and there is not much participation from the fans.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So coming back to debt repayments, very simple. You take a loan, you repay it, and while repaying, whatever the tenure of the loan is, you will pay interest.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Fair enough.
So these are the three components which are involved in determining the salary cap. Now your next question is, what is the formula for determining the salary cap? And that also is very simple.
Okay.
The formula is sales minus operational costs minus debt repayments.
Okay. Straightforward.
So simply put, sales, which is your revenue, and operational cost minus debt repayments, which is your cost.
Yeah.
Sales minus cost gives you your salary cap.
So that's why it's more beneficial for the clubs to increase their sales. So your cap generally increases.
Precisely.
Right?
So
looking at the formula.
So if you look at this from a normal not from this FFP perspective, but from a normal perspective, revenue minus expenditure is equal to profit. So there are two ways to increase profit. Either you can increase your sales or you can reduce your expenditure.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And basically, depending upon your structure or your coming back to the footballing contest, depending upon how your partnerships and relationships with other organizations are, it is it depends on that to determine whether it is possible for you to increase your earnings or whether you need to cut down on costs. Okay.
Correct. Makes sense.
And now this exact formula is why so many clubs from the Spanish league suffered during COVID, because COVID was an operational loss. Okay. So because there were very less sales and because there were so many more expenses, people took wage cuts, but the non-playing staff had to pay, had to be paid as much as possible, plus other expenses, other losses. That is why Barca and any club, like
I think all of the clubs have struggled during the COVID.
I remember, like I also have read Chelsea's financial statements, and I've also read another clubs. I don't remember which ones. Either of the Manchester's financial clubs, either of the clubs from Manchester's. I don't see anyone saying that COVID was a year when we were more profitable than the year before. It's impossible to say that. So either people have reported losses or they've reported way less profits than the year before, which is fair. But the problem with Barca is they were going downhill before COVID.
Right.
COVID only accelerated their process of going downhill. Otherwise, they were going downhill from a long time.
So if you look at it from like footballing sense, would you say the downhill process started after they sold Neymar and then they signed all these?
Oh, no. It goes way back than that. And I'll get to that too. Sorry for this little bit of operational change.
Yeah, no worries.
One second. Yeah. So coming back to this, we have determined that the formula, first of all. Okay, so formula is clear that sales minus operational cost minus debt repayments is your salary wage cap. Okay, salary cap, wage cap, whatever you like to call it. Now, I had said before, I want to focus particularly on operational costs. Okay, and particularly I want to focus on the playing staff's components involved in operational cost. So now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but fair. But worry not, I've kept simple examples to explain. Okay. So first of all, two main components of operational costs are player salaries and player amortization. Now, player salaries, I believe, is pretty straightforward. I've taken the example of FCP and used this example and given the content which is there, that salary payable to the players registered by FCP is what will comprise of player salaries. Okay. So simply put, if a player earns 100K a week, then their total annual salary for 52 weeks would be $5.2 million. Okay, that is your player salaries. Simple.
Correct.
Okay. Now the second part, amortization. Okay. Now, unnecessarily going deep into amortization and explaining the accounting principles behind it, I'll simply put and I'll simply explain that it is the total transfer fee that you have paid that you will divide over the tenure of the contract. Very straightforward. Okay. So and the example I've given, I've purposefully kept simple numbers so that there is no calculation, calculation confusion anywhere. So if a player is signed for $40 million for 4 years, then the total amortization annually is 40 million divided by 4, which is $10 million. Okay. And you combine both of this and you take the total cost, that is the total operational cost, $15.2 million. Okay. This is operational cost. And obviously there are much more figures involved in this. Like I said before, non-playing staff, maintenance, etc. But these are the ones which are the most, they make up the most of the operational costs.
Right.
So player salaries, player amortization, you combine them and you end up with your operational costs.
Right.
Okay.
Fair enough. Straightforward.
Right. So now the question is, how did Barca end up here? Why are they in a situation where where you realize that they are unable to keep up with the FFP requirements?
Correct.
And people think the answer is, no, I think it just, it could be some, the Spanish league has an agenda, or, the UEFA has an agenda.
Yeah.
But the problem is actually very, it's an internal problem. It's not an external problem. And the problem is, drum roll. It is this guy, Josep Maria Bartomeu. I am sure I have butchered the pronunciation, but I don't think I'll make an exception when it comes to this certain individual. Now, what exactly did Josep Bartomeu do? Because if you remember, when he came in the Spanish in Barcelona as the president, when he edged out Laporta back then, people were very hopeful about what he was going to do for the club. But that was not the case. He had made sure that people believe that he has this face of a person who actually cares about the club, but his actions spoke otherwise. Now, if I actually tell you what all he has what all he has done, I'm pretty sure that the entire presentation of this will go beyond like 20, 30, 40, 35 slides at least. Because the sheer amount of dealings that this individual has done and that has put the club to the ground, it's appalling. Now, and to think that this began from 2013-14.
That's what I'm going to ask you. When did this begin exactly?
So he became the president in 2013-14. Okay. And he ended up, he had to resign in, I think, 2020 because of some allegations of fraudulent activity. And plus he had a very, very public fallout with Lionel Messi. So that is why he had to resign. But here's an idea of what exactly he did. Okay. Now, first of all, you know what net spend is, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Net spend is a very simple formula. Player incomings minus player outgoings. Okay. You would always want to ensure that your player outgoings fetch more money and your player incomings fetch less money. You pay less money for your player incomings.
Correct.
Okay. So you would want a negative net spend, which implies that you have sold more than you have paid. And you would want to shy away from a positive net spend, which implies you have paid more than you have sold. Okay. Barca's net spend from 2013-14 to 2021-22 was 555 million positive. Let that sink in. 555 million positive. Okay. A quick just reference, sir. There are lots of currencies involved, and I have I've struggled to keep up with them because lots of data sources come up with their own currency.
Yeah, I think they quote a different number every time.
Yeah. So the thing is, I am only saying the number, but focus on the magnitude rather than the actual accuracy and currency. 555 million in euros would not mean $10 million. Obviously.
Yeah.
It's going to be somewhere in that region. Just
650 or something like that.
Whatever the might be. Now, if you compare it with these days, dollar and euro are on the same page. So could be the same amount as well. But so Barca's net spend was 555 million. Okay. And the shock point doesn't end. It says basically this 555 million of excess spending was before offering wages to any of these new incomings. Okay.
So how did that happen?
Yeah. So how did that happen? That is something. Well, we can see how it unfolds when we see the unfolding of events which Bartomeu had authorized. So to his credit, 2014-15 was the best Barca season in the recent times. They won the treble. They brought back legend Luis Enrique to manage the club. They had the lethal striking partnership of MSN. Right. They also and people think, I mean, to Bartomeu's credit, he also got in Rakitic, he also got
Yeah.
in Bravo, he also got in Marc-Andre ter Stegen for that season. So that is
Right.
the only positive I would say, that positive thing I'm about to say about him before it all unfolds. Okay. He still made a few bad signings that season. 20 million on Jeremy Matteo, 19 million on another player which I can't remember.
Yeah.
But the list goes on. Okay, from here it is just downhill. Okay, Barcelona is so that Barcelona has made 300 million signings, 100 million plus signings, and all three of them have not delivered the output which you would expect from
On the
100
pitch.
million signing. Ousmane Dembele, Philippe Coutinho, and Antoine Griezmann. These are the three players which Barcelona signed under Bartomeu for more than 100 million for more than 100 million.
Yeah.
And they did not perform the way you would expect a 100
They would
million signing to perform. Right?
Right.
Then there are other signings which he made. He paid 55 million for a bang average Andre Gomez. He paid 32 million for a bang average Paco Alcacer. He paid 21 million on a backup player, backup left back, Luca Digne, who then moved to Everton, who then moved to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Then, if I take the light away from the players and I focus on the managerial appointments, after Enrique, he hired Ernesto Valverde, which from day one he was not someone who fit the Barca ideology, the Barca philosophy, and their style of play. And to make matters worse, under Valverde only, Roma happened. Under Valverde only, corner taken quickly happened. So these two events happened, and yet Bartomeu refused to sack Valverde. Even after these events, even though Barca fans were divided, even though after
I remember that time when there was a complete divide between the Barcelona fan base.
Absolutely. So given everything that has happened with Barcelona in Rome and in Liverpool, still the same guy takes helm. That was something which was not appreciated by the fans. Okay, and then when Valverde was sacked, Koeman was brought in. Same issue, same lack of sporting project, same lack of vision. I mean, I believe it was at a time when I think Antonio Conte was unemployed. I think I'm not too sure about it.
Could be, because there was that period where he took a gap.
Yeah.
So from Chelsea, so it could be that time.
Yeah, exactly. I am a little bit confused with the timeline. I think it was Valverde, then he got sacked, then Setien was brought in, Kike Setien. Then I think Kike Setien, I think it was that. Yeah. So before Koeman, there was Kike Setien who was brought in.
Yeah.
And Kike Setien was the manager when 8-2 happened with Bayern. Okay. Then after that, it was Ronald Koeman, who also, like before, had no direction, no sporting project, nothing. Just a directionless club heading somewhere which is just probably going downhill and into an abyss. Okay. Yeah. These were the managerial appointments. Coming back to what Bartomeu did with players. You remember Paulinho played for Barcelona at a point of time?
Yes.
And then how that happened? He came, I think, from Guangzhou Evergrande for some 36, 37 million. And then after a year of playing, he went back.
Yeah, now, I remember.
I don't think he went back. I think he was sold back because of some shady. Like, this transaction has shady written all over it. Like there is like and funnily enough, when Paulinho came to play for Barcelona, Barcelona's midfield became much more muscular. And then you take him out and you send him back. Clearly, there is something involved behind the scenes which we are not obviously aware of. Then another similar transaction. You remember that exchange, Miralem Pjanic and Arthur Melo?
Yes.
Now, in which world do you sign an aging player? Yeah, an aging player. I think he was 29 or 20 or closing to
28, 29. Yeah.
How do you pay exactly? How do you pay 60 million plus for him? How do you pay? And then you give up one of the most attractive young prospects which you had signed.
Midfielder they had at the time.
This was one thing. Then another point which Barca fans object to is that Bartomeu was involved in not believing in La Masia. I remember a lot of young, good talents which were sold off for peanuts. One of them being Cucurella, who right now is the one of the most sought after left backs in the Premier League.
Right.
This is one thing. Then, if I talk about the whole Neymar fiasco, Neymar wanting to leave. Now, Neymar wanting to leave was not just because of I don't think the president was much so involved in it. It was just a matter of personal preference. So fair enough. He adhered to the personal preference. He got all the money from PSG. No problem.
Yep.
The problem began when Bartomeu tried to fill in the void that Neymar left. Correct. There were panic signings, one of them being Dembele for 135 million. Okay. I think 135 million pounds that was. And him something being, like and he did show signs of promise, but injuries have crippled him for a very, very long time. Okay. Then you think, okay, fair enough. There could be, there could be something in some direction. So you make another 100 million signing.
Yep.
Antoine Griezmann came at 120 million before his wage structure, before his wage was decided. So you can imagine how much money was paid. Then there was the Philippe Coutinho transfer where 160 million was paid, or of which some is still payable to Liverpool. Okay. Excuse me. Then all of this is pre-pandemic. Then in the pandemic, players took a 70% wage cut. Players had deferred their salary. Your prospect, your Man United's sought after midfielder being one of them, right?
Yes.
But then again, you think the spending would stop? Absolutely not. The whole, I think during that point, okay, forget the spending for a moment. The biggest event that happened in the pandemic was the club legend Luis Suarez left to sign for Atletico Madrid and to rub salt into their wounds, to rub more salt. He won the league with Atletico Madrid. And I think he made it very clear. He never had a problem with the fans. It was always with the board. And this was exactly what happened with Dani Alves also. When Dani Alves left to go to Juventus, he said that the Barca board does not care. And I think recently also, under Laporta, Dani Alves left, had the contract renewal of him was not done. And then when he left, Dani Alves said that Barca does not care about the people who make Barca or who made Barca. So this is all the mess which Bartomeu has done. And then one of the most confusing, not the expensive, but the most confusing, the most questionable, and the most ridiculous transfer of all time, in my opinion. Care to venture a guess what you think it might be?
Braithwaite or someone? Who are you referring to here? I'm not sure.
It is Arda Turan who
they did a lot of signings that are questionable, but
he did it. And the signing I'm talking about in particular is Arda Turan, the Turkish player who left Atletico Madrid for 41 million. I don't know the currency, like I said. I have 41 million.
And then they didn't.
He went to Barca and then they benched him. He played a little bit with Messi. He played a little bit in odd cup matches here and there. And then he was shipped off to Turkey to play for, I think he played for Istanbul Başakşehir for a brief amount of time before he got caught up in off the pitch matters. So all of these signings, you would think that, and like I said, the net spend was before they ended up with the wage structure that they are in right now. So imagine 555 million positive net spend, which means, and Neymar was sold for 222 million. So how do you end up in a positive net spend of 555 when you are earning 222? Imagine how many signings you must have done, which ended up with nowhere. And there are lots and lots of signings which I have skipped. Okay, like there is Alex Vidal, there is Malcolm, who was the player I was talking about, who was told to not board the flight to Rome and come to Barca. Then you signed Kevin Prince Boateng for God knows what reason. You signed Klaassen, the Dutch goalkeeper, who would be a backup goalkeeper for 21 million.
Mm.
So many of these transactions don't make sense, and ultimately Bartomeu had to resign because there was not just a public fallout with Messi, but also there was an uncovering of a campaign where he paid some news organizations to run stories
Mm.
against his opposition candidate
Okay.
Laporta.
Right.
So these are all the things which Bartomeu has done, and
Yep.
and once you get clarity of this, there is definitely not a element of surprise left as to, oh my god, how has Barca ended up in this situation.
Like,
It
how are you going
has
to fix these problems now?
exactly fixing. It's first of all, it takes a bit of while to actually summarize what exactly
Yeah.
problems are
Exactly.
happening,
True. Fair.
right?
Fair.
So I put an outcome of this, and
Okay.
just coming before I talk about this, I'd mentioned player amortization in the operational
Yes.
cost slide, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
now it makes sense that why their salary cap is decreasing year after year, because
Mm.
you have players who were signed way back for long, big contracts with big salaries, who are taking up the space of the operational costs, which you can keep for other players.
Right.
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 So I believe that when you made those 100 million signings, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very sure that during that point only, I think Griezmann was signed in between the two 1920 and 2021. I think so.
I think
I'm
so.
not
Yeah.
too sure about it. So you can see like that
Maybe slightly before that. I think.
slightly before. Okay, fair
Maybe.
enough. So, but either ways, you have to understand that 1920 means the beginning of 1920, not after.
Yeah. So yeah.
So if it
Before
is before
COVID.
1920 or if it is before 2021,
Mm.
either ways, it's not a big surprise why the salary cap is decreasing year after year. If your
Correct.
amortization increases year after year, if your salaries increase year after year, in that formula, salary
Yeah.
sales minus operational cost, the operational cost becomes more and more and more
More.
inflated,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then your
Yeah.
ultimate amount goes down, 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 down. Like to give you
Right. Right.
a piece of data, this decrease from 1920 to 2021, which is 671 to 347, which represents
Mm-hmm.
around 324 million reduction.
Mm.
That reduction is the single biggest reduction in the history of La Liga.
Okay.
And then you see
Okay.
from 347 they went down to 97 million.
96.
And then
Again, two.
this year is the first year where
Mm.
Barcelona has actually a negative uh, salary cap.
Cap.
Okay, negative salary cap. Okay,
So what
and
does that mean? Like, what are
uh,
the problems with the negative?
it basically means you can't spend.
Yeah.
that is the
Right.
problem. But fortunately for La Liga and for other like La Liga and for other clubs and for in exceptional circumstances, they have put a stipulation where
Mm.
okay, what happens if Barca goes above the spending limit? Not a problem.
Mm.
You have to ensure that if you go above your spending limit,
Mm.
you have to earn 4 times the amount you wish to spend.
Okay.
For example,
Okay.
if Barca wants to spend
Ah,
25 million on a new player, it has to earn
have to
100
earn
million.
100 million first. Mm.
Right. So basically, it's a 1:4 ratio. For
Yeah.
one euro you want to spend, you have to earn 4 euros.
4 years.
Okay.
Mm.
And then how do you earn this money back? Pretty straightforward. You can have player sales, you can have
Mm.
wage cuts, you can have deferred revenues, which is something discussed a lot with Frankie de Jong. You can have other revenues like merchandising, selling your assets, selling other anything which can be sold. If you can get it to sell, that is a earning.
Right.
Okay, so now we have reached a point where we know the mess which Barca is in. Okay,
Mm.
we know why they are in that mess, what is the structure which put them in that mess, and what is the current situation where they have a negative salary cap. They are not able to they were not able to do anything. So then what they
Mm.
did to ensure that something is done to take that salary cap back to its positive is that they started identifying revenue sources.
Mm.
Okay, so to initiate the rebuild, when Bartomeu resigned and Laporta came back, he realized one thing, that player sales, wage cuts, deferment of wages, these are all things which are not going to be sustainable
Enough.
for a very long time. and they're not
Correct.
going to be something which ultimately pull you out of the hole that you're in. So he
Correct.
identified that we need something additional. We need something surplus to whatever we are able to do internally. We need some external
Correct.
support. And so what
Correct.
did I do? Enter Spotify. Spotify has seized this opportunity like anything. Okay. And Barcelona also identified Spotify as one of the partners which they would be able to take long term. Okay. So with that, a sponsorship deal was agreed upon for 4 years, which gave Barcelona 70 million euros. So it equates to 280 million euros over the 4 years. Then Camp Nou is renamed as Spotify Camp Nou. Although I doubt how many people will say Spotify, because even though you do attach a name before it, you would still prefer to call it by the old name, like Camp Nou, right? Like for example, this it takes a lot of time to build an iconic relationship between a brand and the stadium. Like for example, Allianz Arena. It's something which you just can't call it the arena or Bayern's home ground. You have to say Allianz Arena. But if you remember, Juventus's old stadium name, I'm not able to remember, but their new stadium name was called Allianz Stadium, and people objected to it. Okay, they objected to it. Or I think one more which I'm not able to recollect. But you get what I mean.
These American stadiums have they attach like Chase Center
exactly. Like for example, I think I think in Los Angeles you have the Staples Center, right? But it's now renamed as Crypto.com Arena.
So the Staples Center is something which is so iconic. Everybody remembers Staples Center,
precisely.
But not
exactly. Or like another example, it just came to my mind. Like Atletico Madrid, before they were called Wanda Metropolitano. They were called Vicente Calderon. Okay, so something on these lines. I really don't remember. It was a long time ago. So it does take time to get used to these
attach to the brand.
To attach, but then it's driven by not just the company but also the commentators say Spotify Camp Nou, then it registers in your head.
It will get registered.
But amongst all of this, Barca managed to get an extra $5 million by just allowing Spotify to add a prefix to Camp Nou. Then there are potential discussions where Spotify aims to use the Camp Nou as a musical stage for lots and lots of events. Whenever and wherever over the tenure of their contract, and there will be exclusive FC Barcelona and Spotify content. Now that is something which people would want to pay for, is what their promotion is. If you get like for example, if you get The Weeknd collaborating with someone like I don't know, Memphis Depay, who is one of the most fashionable
people would want to watch
there.
That.
Yeah, exactly. You would want to watch it. Or if you get probably a Polish singer associated with Spotify to sing with or to collaborate with Robert Lewandowski, you never know what happens and what is the output of that. So this is something which they have embarked upon.
It's like the multiverse now for them.
Exactly.
Bring anyone and collaborate.
Anyone affiliated with Spotify can come, and they will obviously ensure and they will obviously forecast the partnership which will give them the biggest output. But I'm pretty sure that Barca won't let them do it without taking a cut for themselves. Now this first of all was a very, very good deal for Barcelona. But given the state of chaos that they are in, it's still a very, very, very small amount. Okay. It's a very, very small amount, because keep in mind, your debt is one thing. Okay. Your 1.35 billion euros is one thing. Right now, if you're not able to register and afford the players that you are buying, you need something more. And given the our formula, €1 pay, you have to earn €4. So here, if Barca somehow earns 100 million through Spotify, they only can pay 25 million. So then, after Spotify, now one of the misconceptions people do is they think Spotify is an economic lever. It's not. It's not an economic lever. Economic lever is something after this, when they realized that the Spotify deal was not enough. It was not enough for Barcelona.
And that's 280 million we are talking about here, which is not enough.
Which for a club like Chelsea or for a club like Man United would be astronomical. Like Man United can purchase 3 Harry Maguires for that price, right?
Oh, come on. Let's not go there.
Or we can purchase 2.5 Lukaku, almost 3 Lukakus for that.
Sure.
Okay. So don't worry. Wherever I bash you, I'll bash myself also. I'm not had a great time with Chelsea ever since the sanctions were imposed. So bear with me.
Sure.
Right.
Moving on.
So coming back to the economic levers. Now, after Spotify, they realized that they need more money. Okay. So then to activate the economic levers, they brought in an American investment firm, which goes by the name of Sixth Street. Now, Sixth Street was brought in. It's an investment fund. So it was very much clear that this partnership is not really, football driven. It's purely money driven. Okay.
Right.
So here, what the aim is that Barca's deal, with the CBC or whatever negotiations are happening on that front, that is a different chapter altogether. But whatever money they will earn from that, okay, they will give 10% of that to Sixth Street. Now, this was the first economic lever. Okay. This was the first economic lever where they ensured that any money which they get. So, for example, over the next, if in the next season, Barca get 50 million euros, they have to ensure that 5 million euros goes straight to Sixth Street. Okay. I think my maths is right. 15 to 10%, 5, right? 5 million goes to the Sixth Street. Okay. And this was for 25 years. Okay. Now, obviously, the figures are much bigger than this. And all of that, like what you essentially here have done is, whatever you expect for 25 years, you have basically shrunk it and come at a value of 207.5 million euros. Okay. Right. Now, shrunk is a very, very non-financial term. It's actually called discounting. Okay. But I'll not go into the technicalities of it. Just for keep in mind that you have shrunk it right now. Okay. You have done some calculations and you have shrunk the amount and computed today's value to be 207.5 million euros. That is the first economic lever that Barca activated.
Got it.
But then they again realized this is not enough. This is still not enough. Now, this is still now what other way they can do is Sixth Street had made it clear they were willing to purchase a bigger stake in the TV rights, not just 10%. So Barca also obliged, and then they also sold an additional 15% of that same arrangement. Okay. But I don't understand what Barca has done over here. They have officially disclosed the figures of the first deal, but they've not disclosed the figures of the second deal. So that's why I've put this asterisk, is where that the deal 2 figures, they are not official. I've just extrapolated them based on the deal 1's figures. So that is the arrangement at the moment. Okay. So these are the 2 economic levers which they have activated. Okay. Deal 1 is and both of them are with Sixth Street, one for 10% and then for an additional 15%, which total gives Sixth Street 25% stake in Barca's TV rights. Okay. And again, as much as I would like to bash Barca for this is not really uncommon. It's just not sought after, because keep in mind, 25 years is a big time. Okay.
It's a big
anything can happen during that time. And if you end up selling a bigger stake and then end up getting a less amount of money, like for example, if anything happens, if a new deal comes in and Barca gets 500 million in one season, very unlikely, but 500 million in one season just from TV rights, to give 25% of that away at that point of time would be a bit of a problem. But it's better to survive now rather than worry about the future, given the state that Barca.
Isn't this something that happened with Leeds as well? Because they sold off their, I'm not exactly sure. So I just know the very upper layer of what the information I was very upper layer, but Leeds essentially sold off their TV rights 2000-2001 period, and things didn't go well for them. I think they sold their Champions League right, to be precise. Leeds, because they used to play the Champions League.
Okay. I was a bit confused. I didn't get the timeline you were talking about.
Right, it was 2000-2001 period.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said,
and it didn't work for them. They had to sell their players to this cost. Like you have to have some operational cost. Like maybe there's a
Exactly.
different route for Premier League, but the core structure would be the same. And that's
Precisely.
where the problem began. They could not replace those players with the players that they bought in, and then they
Precisely.
relegated. And after you
Precisely.
relegate, it's a financial turmoil.
Precisely. And I will come to like the outcome of this. Right now, I'm just presenting the data and the factual elements which are
Yeah.
there. But the interpretation of all of these events, I am going to get to at the end of this entire presentation, so to speak. Now,
Right.
we are at the stage where Barca have activated their economic levers, but they realize that it's still not enough. Okay, somewhere or the other, they are. So this is the present scenario. They have activated the two levers. They are exploring an opportunity of a third lever. But they have also realized that there are a few assets of theirs which they can sell, they can license off and try to get some money. Which, for
Right.
example, is first of all, you sell 20 to 30% of Barca studios, which are expected to fetch 100 million. And then the second is they have their own licensing and merchandising arm, which they are probably want to sell 49.9% of and keep 50.1. So they will retain majority control, but they will sell it for 600 million. But these are still in discussion, still negotiations. The first 2 points which are there about selling the studios and selling the arm of licensing and merchandising, that is agreed upon in the meeting. So they had conducted a meeting of the members and they agreed upon this. But that is not something which has taken a step forth. These are agreed and a resolution has been passed whenever they want to visit this. Okay.
Right.
And now the third point, and rightfully so, Frankie de Jong does not want to look at that point. That is why he's looking away from it. But these are negotiations with players for wage cuts, for deferment of wages, contract terminations, or ultimately transfers. Now here, Barca really don't want to sell value. See, the thing is, Barcelona being in financial turmoil doesn't mean the players have lost their value. Okay.
Right.
But the party which wants to purchase these players, they will make sure that the player is undervalued because they want to use this opportunity of the stress which Barca is in. Right. And so this kind of a sale, if it does take, which is called as a stress sale. Okay. But right now, Barca have made it clear that our financial turmoil, if we take care of at our end, we don't want to sell our players at a cheap cheap price. And that is why they are not entertaining offers below 80 million or 85 million for Frankie de Jong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
And it does make sense. It does make sense from a footballing angle, but from a financial angle, if you don't have so many options, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But
right.
This is one option of transfers. Then there is a deferment of wages. Basically, what it says is, if Barca and Frankie decide, which they did in COVID, that Frankie, we are unable to pay you whatever we are due to pay you in this particular period. Can you please let go of that right now, and we will pay it probably at some point in the future. And that is what happened. And this, in very simple terms, is called as deferment of wages. Okay. And then the third one is contract termination, where you agree that, okay, fair enough, this is not working out for both of us. We want to terminate this contract. And usually in this situation, players who are not getting any play time and they want to play elsewhere, or they want to play upcoming international tournaments, which is why they want to be in the shape of their life. They would want to exit this scenario and they would want to go and play elsewhere. That is where you do a contract termination. Like, for example, recently Juventus and Aaron Ramsey reached that contract termination. I don't know in what universe Aaron Ramsey gets 400,000 a week, but that is something for a different time, when probably if we wish to study Juventus, we will study Juventus.
Sure. We could do this for every club. It's interesting.
It is okay, but not so frequently, because it takes the it takes the life out of me.
Yeah,
but
you have to do some work as well.
More than willing to, but obviously contribute. Sure. If the audience and if the people who watch this really like what we are doing, if you can always let us know if you want some other club to be studied. Now, these are the other proposals which Barca has done. So they have Spotify, they have the economic levers, they have selling their studios, their licensing arm, and negotiations with players. Okay. So they have done all of this. They have raised a lot of money. Okay. Now, if you do earn so much amount of money, naturally, and you have such an amount of debt, such an amount of loans, dues to lots and lots of players and parties and other organizations, you would want to pay that right away, right? So you are back in a bit of financial stability.
Stability. Yeah.
Yeah. This makes sense financially, but from a footballing perspective, this makes zero sense. And I'll tell you why.
Mm.
Okay. With the influx of money which Barca is getting, it does make financial sense to repay everything or as much as possible. Okay.
Mm.
But keep in mind, this does not increase your sales. Okay. This does not increase the quality of players that you are playing with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, to, if you want a sustainable, stable, frequent stream of revenue in your organization, when it comes to Barcelona, success means winning trophies, winning titles. And when you win titles, when you win trophies, you get an amount of money. Like, for example,
Correct.
Real Madrid, when they won the La Liga last year, they got 80 million from the La Liga money pool.
Yep.
And when they won the Champions League, I think they got somewhere around 60 million.
Right.
Okay. So consistently winning trophies, winning titles gives you a consistent stream of revenue. And that stream of revenue year on year on year on year on year, if you
Keeps
accumulate
building.
properly, you can use it to
Yeah.
repay all the debts and everything. So,
Mm.
and
Okay.
now, okay, you want to win trophies, you want to win titles, but how can you do this with the existing squad? Okay.
Mm.
And that is why they made all of these purchases. They bought Lewandowski, they bought Rafinha, they bought Frank Kessie, they bought Christensen, they bought Jules Koundé, which I refused to add until it was official. And it was official, but I did not get time to add. But they have Jules Koundé. They also have Ousmane Dembele. And this is only from this window. They have Ferran Torres, they have Aubameyang, they have Ronald Araujo. Okay. Araujo, I think that's how they say his name. So what they have done essentially is they have leveraged the amount of money they have got to improve the quality of the squad and challenge Real Madrid and other clubs in Europe to win the trophies to ensure they get a consistent inflow of revenue. Now, is it a gamble? Absolutely. This is a huge gamble which you have taken to revive the club's fortune and bring back the glory days, which have been not rightfully. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't deserve the glory. I'm saying the glory has just eluded them for so many years. I mean, remember after 2014-15 season, I don't remember a season where Barca fans were truly happy with everything that was going on. And that was
ever a time.
Right. And of course, it will take consistent titles, consistent trophies, consistent success year after year after year, which will then attract sponsorships, which will then attract more partners, which will then attract more parties to invest in Barcelona, and then which will guarantee more success on and off the pitch. And given that there is only so much you can sell, Barca has to ensure that this works. Otherwise, there is honestly no coming back. There is no way back from this. There is only so much you can sell. You can't sell off your organization. You can't sell off, yourself, obviously. You can only sell the assets which are there for sale, which won't cause a big problem for you if you lose their control. And from that angle, this is an absolute gamble. It is a very, 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 important tipping point for Barcelona where the scales can tip in their favor or they can tip away. Right. They do have a strong squad. They do have a manager who seems to know what he is doing. They do have a manager who played well before when he came aboard. Okay, he does have the pull to get so many players. The philosophy, the history, the image, everything is there. But all of this does not mean financial stability. And it is vital for Barcelona to ensure that whatever gamble they have taken, they do it pays off in their favor. It will be, I mean, this is such a different kind of a crisis that it's like you are digging a hole. Okay, it's like you're in quicksand, and there is only a small opportunity where you can get out of it. And Barca believes this is their opportunity. But if it goes here and there, quicksand will just pull you down, and it's very difficult for you to come back from this. This is FC Barcelona. This is Barcelona's financial crisis summed up for you. Thank you for listening to me, Amod. And if you have anything to ask, anything more to discuss, I'm more than willing to, continue this.
This was so well, like you put it so well, like the research that you have done, it this was all very well put. And yeah, one thing I'd like to ask,
Yeah.
the data that you showed,
Yeah.
could you also link those, like the sources that you have, like the open statements or financial statements that you found maybe through your research? Could you just share them in our description, so if people want to go and have a
I'll
look
try to.
themselves?
Like there was a point of time where I had like 32 tabs or 32
Oh,
tabs
okay.
open. So
That's
I
fair
mean
enough.
I'll try to put in as much data as possible
Yeah.
in the description. Like I would, there are so many I read EIF, I had read ESPN, then
Yep.
Forbes, because since this was a financial element, I had to read what the financial experts also had to say about it.
Got it.
And I mean, this was really fun to do because ultimately,
Yeah.
you always see your football clubs through the footballing pitch, but for me it's
Yeah.
very I mean, I did this with Abhishek Marathe's episode also, where I
Yeah.
viewed Chelsea's
Which is one episode I
financial.
really recommend if you have not watched yet.
Yeah, we'll put a link to this also in the description, and we'll make sure that it pops up right around this time so that you can check it out. But we were discussing back then about Mo Salah and the whole situation with Liverpool, and there also I got a chance to explore the entire situation which was going on with Barca, not with Barcelona, sorry, with
With
the
Liverpool,
other
that's
clubs,
right.
Liverpool and Liverpool, Southampton, other clubs that we discussed. So
Right.
yeah, these are like few of the things which I'm very happy to do and I'm very willing to do. So if you have any suggestions of any other footballing events which had a financial impact which you
Yep.
would like to know more about, please
Mhm.
let us know via our socials, and all are always in the description. But yeah, Amod, like you come from an engineering background, you really don't have an idea of what finances are. The same way I
Yep.
don't have an idea of what engineering, what coding is. So how did you, like, is it a bit more clear what exactly
For
has
sure,
happened?
for sure. So the formulas that you put, I could totally relate to what you are going to put next. So I think in the middle I cleared it, like when you showed me cap, and cap is sales minus your operational cost. So that kind of
Right.
cleared that you want to increase your cap by either increasing your salaries or decreasing costs. So the fact that you put it in a more, in a sense that for everybody to understand in a simple algebraic equation, a linear equation, I think it made sense across for every person who would be watching this. And I think it's very important for us to kind of understand and learn what our football clubs do apart from just watching them on the
Yeah,
pitch.
exactly. Like you have instances where clubs win probably all that there is to win, and still they're not in a very strong financial
Yep.
condition. Like, to give you
Situation.
more
Yeah.
context on this, if Chelsea had not won the Champions League that season when they won in
Mm-hmm.
the recent one, we would have
Right.
had a not so good financial year. But
Right.
we had, fortunately we won that. We also got other good amount of
Investment.
inflows from other other sources.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that we took this, and I'm glad that you actually pushed me a little bit, because I was a bit skeptical about this. Because I
Right.
mean, simply because there is so much of data out there, and it feels like, yeah, this is so basic. Someone will always know this. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
must know this. But the shocking amount of people, apart from you, who have said that they really have no idea what's going on and how they are able to
Yep.
afford these players. So it's glad
Right.
that we embarked on this. We
Yep.
we ensured that there was a fair, comprehensive coverage. And I have, like, I just want to reiterate that we have taken lots and lots of currencies, lots and lots of amounts from
Yeah. Yeah.
different articles. And it was really hard for me to keep track of all the currencies, because
Yep.
one article states this, one states that, then the rate at that point of time, it was very
Could be
difficult to keep a
different. Yeah.
uniform currency, and it was equally difficult to keep in mind all the currencies. So I decided no
Yeah.
currencies. I'll
But I think
only
the
say the
magnitude
amount.
itself was so huge, like people
Precisely,
get the idea.
precisely. You'd get an idea of what it was. So
Fair,
yeah, I
fair,
think
fair.
anything more, Amod, you have to add.
No, I
Like
think you just put it well. Like it was so perfect. I think this has to be one of the best episode for me personally. Like the sheer amount of research that you have put into this, like people have no idea, like breaking the fourth wall here. But the sheer amount of research that Rohan has told me, like I'm going through this, like through our constant chats through WhatsApp, like every time Rohan was working on something related to this project, and this is, he's working full time now, and he found time to search. So thank you, Rohan, for this. Like
Thank you.
it's a brilliant episode.
I'm glad you liked it. I hope anyone who has made it
I
so far.
thoroughly enjoyed this episode and
Thank you,
learned a
man.
lot as well. Like apart from the fun part, like yeah, we can take the make out of them, but it's important to learn these financial terms as well because soon we would be earning as well, and it's
Yeah,
important to understand
exactly. You
finance. I
would
mean,
not want to
obviously
end
not
up in a
on that scale.
situation like this. Yeah,
Exactly, not on that scale, but it's important to know what goes around. So yeah, this was
precisely.
definitely a great episode, and I'm
Glad you
glad
liked
I
it,
was a
man.
part of it.
Glad you liked it. And yeah, like in case, just to, now we've spoken a lot about Barca, we've spoken a lot about, finance and everything. We'll now take all of that attention and focus it back to our podcast. So just a few updates. Amod, to reiterate, if you have seen the previous episode or if you have not, Amod has joined us as a full-time co-host. Now it's me, it's Amod, and it's Sid. Sid is still on his hiatus because he is still preparing for his exams. Like always, we do wish him all the best for his preparation and everything. But Amod has kindly hopped on because the most successful episode on this channel yet is with Amod, and he's a natural in front of the camera. It was very straightforward. Whatever episode I've done with him, it's been a good episode, and we have had good success with it. So it made sense to bring him on. It was just a 2 + 2 = 4 kind of situation, and we are researching. And one thing which I would like to tell that it is very easy for us to make episodes after matches, after or before matches, and just generate videos just for the sake of it. But that won't be unique or differentiating to this podcast and the channel and the vision which we see ourselves in. So that is why episodes might not be as frequent as once a week or once in 2 weeks. Some episodes might be once a month, some might be once 2 months, or some we might have 2 in 1 month, whatever the case may be. But just keep in mind that we are going to research a lot before everything that we say, so that we want to provide some perspective which not everyone else offers, and we want to ensure that we stand a little bit, we differentiate ourselves from the rest. Because no disrespect to the rest, because there are so many, we just don't want to get lost somewhere in the sheer number. We just want to be different, take our own path, and want to deliver good analysis, studies, etc. to you. So we are working on a few topics. We will get back to you. We will definitely record a bit more than before. And yeah, Amod, any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I think just summed it up, and thank you. I've said this a lot of time, but thank you for having me as a co-host. It's a great pleasure.
You have to stop saying that now, because now you are a permanent. If you're a permanent member, I
have to stop saying.
Yeah, it's like us thanking each other. Like, thank you for making this channel. Thank you for doing it.
No, but seriously, it's great doing these recording sessions on weekends after we have some time to spend, and I think it's a great way to spend our time. It's like a hobby for us, and maybe we expand it in the future. You never know.
Right, and you never know. Maybe anyone's future employer might see whatever we are doing, and you might end up, if you get what I'm saying.
You never
know. Right. Yes, so that was today's episode, a long episode, an intensive technical episode. But I hope that you have enjoyed it if you've made it so far. And please do like, please do comment, share, subscribe, all the usual,
Yeah, that helps.
And like the intention is not to, just get a higher number. We want to spread this to get it across to as many people as possible. We want good collaborations. We want good insights. So that's why we are doing this. It's not about numbers. If it was for numbers, we would have just put out more and more episodes without really focusing on what we want to talk about. So thank you if you've made it so far. And thank you for tuning into the Match Ball podcast. We will come back very soon with another episode, another topic, another something different out there than what is out there. And we hope you stay with us for the ride, and the best is yet to come. Right. So thank you so much for tuning in. We shall catch you in the next episode. I'm Rohan, and on behalf of my co-host Amod, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye.